Hello there and welcome to the QNB Stars League preview show, all in English here on Alcas as we look ahead to all 6 matches in week 2 in the company of former English Premier League players and Alcas analysts Nick Summerby and Chris Makin. Hard to believe, already 1 week gone, and what an opening weekend it was. And the most prominent thing to come out of it, I believe, is that the matches were all very, very tight. Chris Makin, do you get that feeling now? It is going to be more competitive.
Yeah, I loved it. I was very impressed with the first weekend's action. They said it was going to be competitive before the season started. It turned out that way last week, but we need more of it.
Yeah, Nick?
I would say an example, which you might think I'm crazy with saying it now, is Wakra versus Al Sadd. 4-1, Al Sadd won, but it wasn't the case. Al Wakra were fantastic up to about the last 10 minutes, down to 10 men. You know, and it just shows you how much more competitive it is. I know it sounds crazy with the result there, but it was a big improvement in the league. All
right, then, let's see what's coming in week 2 then. We'll show you the league standings, which really reminds you of who's in the league and how they line up for week 2. So the standings going into week 2 look like this. There were 4 victories in week 1, and therefore 4 teams share 3 points at the top of the table. Al Sadd, Al Gharafa, Al Arabi and Al Duhail. Full marks for them. There were 2 draws as well in the first week. One of them was between Al Rayyan and Salal. They share a point each in 5th and 6th. Down in the bottom half of the table, the other draw was between Al Khor and Al Salia. They each share a point each, and 4 teams losing: Qatar Sports Club, Al Ahli, Al Wakra and Al Shahaniya. The fixtures in week 2 are spread over 3 days and will be played at the Al Janoub Stadium in Al Wakra and the Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Stadium, Al Sadd Stadium, because both stadiums are air-cooled, which allows the games to be played in the August heat here in Qatar. On Thursday, the 29th of August, the early kick-off at 17:10 Doha time is Al Wakra versus Qatar Sports Club. At 19:20, Al Duhail face Al Arabi. Then on Friday, the 30th of August, Al Khorum Salal is the early kick-off. At 19:20, Al Rayyan come up against Al Gharafa. And then on Saturday, the 31st of August, at 17:10, it's Al Ahli versus Al Salia. And at 19:20, Al Shahaniya face the might of Al Sadd. First up, it's Al Wakra versus Qatar Sports Club. Okay, well, let's remind ourselves straight away on the video wall here. Nick, you can talk us through it. This was the goal that Al Wakra got, and this is the one that they replied when they were already down to 10 men. It's promising.
Yeah, great work down the right-hand side to Bellos. He really showed his pace, and then there's Ben Yetu. It's about his movement, the pair of them down the right-hand side, and all of a sudden the way he lost Pedro. I'm expecting a big season from the both of them. You know, it's definitely exciting. Just look at his movement here now. He's gauging it as it's working on the right-hand side. All of a sudden he slips in behind Pedro. He loses Pedro, and then there he is just to side foot it into the net. And that was, you know, they were trailing by a goal, and all of a sudden they showed that they got the character in the squad to get back into the game.
Well, their head coach, Marquez Lopez, he seems to be happy with things too.
Enjoy it.
Everything is okay, but the last match, the performance of the team is good. This week is very good training, a good intensity, and inshallah, next match is possible win. But the mentality of the players is good.
Okay, so no problems there early doors, Chris. We seem to be sitting pretty at Al Wakra despite that first week defeat. They're up against Qatar Sports Club. Let's go straight to the video wall again. This could have turned out to be a shock event. It was late stuff from Al Duhail, but promising again from Qatar Sports Club.
Attacking-wise, yeah, but they'll be kicking themselves out. They never took at least a point from this game. Wonderful build-up play, very similar to Al Wakra. Good finish by Kabananga. And then after that, goes into the last few minutes, you're thinking, hang on, do anything to get the 3 points or a point even, but we don't see the game out.
Enough to scare Al Wakra this coming week?
It's a much... They both need to win this game. It's such an important game for both. They both suffered opening day defeats. Need to hit back with a win now, don't they?
Yeah, well, Carlos Alos, the head coach of Qatar Sports Club, he's still full of confidence.
But I have to take the good things from the team. I'm happy with the players. They play tough game. They run a lot. They play with big sacrifice. They play good in defense. They do what I want. So I cannot say nothing about them. Just to keep the concentration all until the end of the games, because in football you have to do it, and especially when you play against strong teams. Because in 1 minute you can lose. This is a big example. No, in 3 minutes, little bit no concentration, you lose the game, especially against a team with like Duhail, that has a big talented players. No,
Keeping that concentration for the full term of the match, Nick.
I like both managers. You know, they've a breath of fresh air. You know, they look like they could do something. You know, maybe not a relegation battle. I still think they'll be down there, but I like their enthusiasm when you listen to them talking.
Surely you know when you're up against Hale, just, you know, big game like that, 1-0 up, you just clear your lines, don't you? I don't think it's down to concentration.
Yeah, well, they'll have learned that. It was a hard lesson learned in game one. Go on then, Chris, being as you jumped in there, your prediction, Al Wakra Qatar Sports Club.
2-0, Al Wakra.
Nick?
2-2.
2-2. Thank you very much. Next up, Al Duhail versus Al Arabi. Right then, let's jump in here, Nick, if you want to. Al Duhail's goals in that game against Qatar Sports Club. They came late, but they were important, and there were glimpses of how clinical they can be.
Yeah, there was. He left it very late. Keeper made a bit of a mistake, but there's a man who we're used to seeing. Good to see him back. Masatni there just to prod it away. It was a little bit nervy.
Is there still enough here to trouble Al Arabi this weekend?
I think it's an interesting game because Al Arabi brings something totally different which we're not used to seeing, and I think there's space for it in the world of football. They put quality crosses into the box. Here's Moez. We know the quality of him, and this is what we pretty much expect. But they're going to have a tough test against Al Arabi. They are a very strong side. I'm talking right through the spine of the side. Your central defenders, your midfielders, and obviously your goal scoring centre forward as well. But they get the ball into the box, which they have to defend. It's going to be so we're not used to seeing Duhail. Hopefully they can get the balls in. Let's see if they can put them under pressure.
Chris, let's remind ourselves of what Al Arabi are capable of, and they did it in that opening week. They gave Al Ahly a torrid time, Chris.
Quite a simple game plan really from Al Arabi. Get the ball in the box. It's going to be a great match-up against Al Duhail. Free-flowing footballing team. Al Arabi brings something different this season, so I'm really looking forward to this game this week. Get it in the box.
They'll certainly be analysing this video in great detail.
Well, it's so simple for the players. We touched upon it the other night in the review show. It makes it so easy for the players. Anytime you get it around in the last third, stick it in the box, and then the two big men get on the end of it if possible.
I mean, I asked the manager, and he just said, well, we've got two goal scorers there which need service, so we're going to give them service. And I thought, well, thank you very much, it's easy. You know, this is not a long ball, this is just them getting early crosses into the box, but them as well, Al Arabi, putting men in the box.
And of course, they don't just Al Arabi get the ball into the box by kicking it. You might think I've gone crazy. They've got that other thing in their armoury, and is the long throw from Aaron Ganaz, and we talked about it. We knew it was going to come. It's effective, Nick, already.
Very effective. I mean, how many teams do you watch when they have to try and work to get a cross into the box? This guy gets it straight in there. So not only are they crossing from the wings and getting the ball in, they've got him as well. And we listened to him, which I thought was really interesting. When he knew he'd signed to come and play for Al Arabi last season, he was at Cardiff. He watched the league all the way through. A great professionalism, that you've got to embrace it. So he knows all the players, he knows all the teams. That gives you a little bit of an idea what type of character he is. Yeah,
good preparation, essential. Chris, pick up on the players in the box. You and Nick looked at it in the review show. This is what you're talking about, and this is why it could be difficult for Al Duhail this coming weekend.
No, this is vital for Al Arabi. They've got to get players in the box. No point putting a cross in, and you only got Habawi in there. Got to have 3 red shirts in the box at all times if possible.
Okay, so it is a plan that Heimer Hallgrimsson has been thinking of for a while.
Analysing the league and the players we brought in, we knew that this way could be effective. We have now 2 really good goal scorers in the box, and the more deliveries they will get into the box, the more goals they will score. That is an easy statistic. And analysing the league, I think this is one of the things that can be effective in the league. So it's both planned, it's the players we have, and we are trying to play to our strength.
Certainly did that on the opening weekend. Yes, Nick?
Let me just say, I mean, the world of football, sometimes you listen to all these pundits all that, and it's very, very complicated. Sometimes you can just bring it down and the simple things. You know, it might sound very, just get the ball into the box. There's guys there, give them the service. It's not rocket science,
I wouldn't
is it?
listen to any pundits, would you, Rod?
No.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Definitely
about
not.
everywhere else. It's so, sometimes you're listening, you're thinking that with VAR, you're thinking,
I know.
well, what are we on about here now? And he just said,
just one little point as well. He does have the biggest squad in the league at the moment, 42. So, blessed with the largest squad in the league, Al Arabi. You can start first this time, Nick. So, it's Al Hale versus Al Arabi.
Nick or Chris?
Chris.
I will go. I've got to go to Hale. 3-1.
Nick.
I think, I'm looking forward to seeing Al Arabi where they're up to in this. But I still think De Gea possibly got a little bit more quality. But if they don't, Al Arabi, if they beat De Gea, you have to consider him to be able to do something this season.
Yes!
I'm telling you, you have to. But I'm not. But I'm going to stick with our favourites, De Gea.
Okay, we'll see. Next up is Al Khor versus Salal. Okay, Al Khor got the point in week 1 against Al Silia. They got it in the form of a penalty. It was a 1-1 game. Two strange decisions here, but you know there wasn't much, Nick, between the two sides, and I guess after week 1 they'd probably be happy just to share the points.
Yeah, but they've got a lot more than what we've seen over previous years, and we used to speak about Madsen all the time. That's well in the past now. They've got a team which is led by this man you just seen in the photograph, Thiago. They're a different side altogether, and they'll be difficult to play against. So it could be interesting. I don't have any problems at all with Al Khor this season. I just think they think they've done good business. They've managed to change the side and get it looking a little bit more positive. So they could cause a problem with anybody in the league.
Okay, maybe not so many changes with Salal. Chris, let's look at the goals that they scored in week 1. It was a good draw against Al Rayyan. Bawas looked very, very lively getting both goals.
He did. He links up with Sabbo very well. Same for Salal in this game against Al Rayyan. Two teams very competitive, on the same level. Not much to choose between them. And Mawas, he's been a great player over the last few years, but hasn't got the goal count to go with his good play. So he's off to 2 goals already. It's a good start from Mawas.
And this is what you were screaming for it last season, for these two to interact a lot better and work together.
Yeah, for some reason now this season, they're starting to play 2 up front. The manager wants them close together. You know, brilliant. You've got Sagbo. You can knock the ball up to Sagbo. You know he's going to hold on to it. He can flick it on, and he can just get the pieces off.
We always wanted Mawas more central, didn't we?
Yeah.
He was always on the left-hand side, and when the ball was going in the box, wasn't really getting in the box to get on the end of it, was he?
Well, Raul Caneda, the head coach, seems to have managed to orchestrate that. This is him.
Yes, okay, for sure. Mawas is a young player with full of passion, and he wants to show to everybody that he has a space in the top scorers and in the top football players in the area. And they are important if they are playing all, together, no? one close to another one. And Sagbo did a top job. It reminds me of the Sagbo the 3 years ago. And for sure, they are key players for us. And as I told you before, it's important for me that they play in positions that they can even live in the same space.
Well, if he is the Sagbo of 3 years ago, then look out everybody else. So, Nick, Al Khor Salal.
It's a good question, that, to be honest with you. 2-2.
2-2?
Yeah, 2-2
All right, okay.
No, actually, no. I'm going
How
to
many
go. Sorry,
two-twos
I'm
are
going to
you
change my
allowed in
mind.
this programme?
No, I'm going to change my mind. It's too many draws. 2-1. Salal.
Okay.
Exactly
Chris.
the same.
Both of you agree. Doesn't happen very often. Thank you very much. Next up, Al Rayyan versus Al Gharafa. Okay, then, Nick, the Al Rayyan goals from week 1, 2 in that draw with Salal. Goodness me. Even though you feel it's an ageing squad, they still play their part. Sebastian, 36th of November. Tabata, 39. He, Ligier, the new player, just 20 years of age. The other end of the scale.
But it needs that. You know, it's what happens when you play football at the end of your career. I mean, 39s, it's phenomenal, but we'll have to see really how far they can actually go in the campaign. But I think they're looking to bring a centre forward in as well. He wasn't that happy with the performance. He's expecting a better performance this time round to get the crowd going. okay, they get away with a draw, but I still think I think they're going to struggle to get in third this year. I really do.
Okay, well, is Diego Aguirre, the head coach, back? Remember, after he was here in 2011 to 2013, does he feel he's got the ageing squad?
Yes, I know we have very good players, but the most important is not an individual performance. We need to play as a team. This is my goal. I'm sure this thing will be happening in the next game. We need 3, 4, 5 games to know each other. It's normal, but of course, I know we have the pressure to win, and this is sometimes it's not the best for when we start the season.
Okay, Diego Aguirre, he's got a challenge on his hands because they're up against, yes, Chris?
He wants 4 or 5 games to settle in. There's only 22 games in this league. It's not
I
the
know.
type of league to be able to
it's
be
not
given
38
5
games. You can't sort of say, we'll play
Let's
the
feel our
three.
way into the season. Let's get going after the mid-season break.
You've got to hit the ground. You've got to hit the ground running in this. And they're up against.
Al Sadd lost 1 game last year.
Yeah.
So straight away, if you give yourself 4 to 5, you could be out of the title race.
Yeah, it's okay. He got a draw. Al Sadd got 3 draws. That's all right. Let's look at Al Garrafa, Chris. This is what they're up against. I mean, well, I say this is what they're up against. With Al Garrafa, who knows?
Well, second half was very impressive, and I'd be more concerned if it was an Al Rayyan player than an Al Garrafa player going into this match, because second half they turned it on style-wise. Aladdin looked very dangerous. He's up against his former club, so he'll have a point to prove. This guy, Hane, was very impressive on the night. So Al Rayyan, for me, they've got it all to do. Al Garrafa should be enjoying looking forward to this game.
Slavica Jovanovic, Nick, the new head coach, he seems very straight-talking, no messing. Is his message getting through? It would seem that way from the first performance.
Well, that's a start for him, and I think he will be happy with that. He listened to my question when I said it's them doing it on a regular basis, Garrafa. So now he wants better. He doesn't want them to drop at all, though, and I don't think they're going to do that. And a lot of the players that have come in don't know about the past, so I think they could be onto something. And I think that's the start, but they're going to start playing better when they get to know each other. And they could have a good season.
Well, Jokanovic has made it absolutely clear. There's no time for celebration just yet.
I hope, I expect, and my team show me this week we are focused and concentrated. We are not celebrate any victory because there don't exist any reason for any celebration, and team is working hard. I have sensation we're gonna be ready, prepared. We have 2 days more for prepare the game, and I hope we're gonna be in highest level than last game.
Okay, well, he's quite clear on what he wants. Chris, will it be enough? Al Rayyan, Al Garrafa.
Go on. Difficult one, isn't it, Nicholas? I will go 2-1 Garrafa.
Oof, that would be a bit of a shock, wouldn't it? Big following, of course, Al Rayyan. They won't be happy, the fans. Nick.
I'm gonna go. It's a good one. I'm gonna go 3-1 Garrafa. Aladdin to come back against his old side and to score a few goals.
All right. Next, Al Ahly versus Al Silia. All right, Al Ahly well beaten in week 1 by Al Arabi, but what a goal it was. They had something to celebrate, Chris.
This was the goal of the weekend, number 1 in the Billboard charts. Perez cuts in on his right, just bent it to the far side. Good intro, that, wasn't it?
The Billboard chart.
The Billboard chart.
Oh, Billboard. He said Bilbo. He's got
What are you
Bilbo.
talking about? Billboard. Wonderful goal, yeah. I mean, he gets it near the halfway line, just takes off. Luckily, he gets the overlap from the full-back, but he just opens up there and just feeds it into the far side. But they need to show more for me. Al Ahly, I don't know if they've got enough attacking-wise to do well this season.
Yeah, interestingly, they've got one of the smaller squads. If you compare with Al Arabi of 42, Al Ahly 30. But at the moment, it's not worrying Ruben de la Barrera too much.
We tried to adjust and to change some different things during the halftime, but it was not possible not to close that connection with both fullbacks to avoid crossing. So I'm completely sure it's not one problem. If not, it was one condition that it hurts us a lot.
Do you feel the same way? Bit of a collective thing.
Sometimes just keep it simple. You understand what I'm trying to tell you?
But, it's not one particular. If you look at that performance of Al Ahly's against Al Arabi, it's a case of just it wasn't there all round collectively.
It's more worrying.
Yeah, but
You just wanted to do one thing. Let's work on that.
Well, yeah, possibly, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but listen, look, it's one game. Get that out of the way. Go and get your first victory if you can, and then all of a sudden it changes. It's one game, and everyone gave a little bit of an hard time. You know, that City just didn't work out in the first game. It sometimes happens that way. But we're not getting any stats from you, Rodri. We usually get...
Just got a quiet week.
You usually tease us into a couple of...
And I tell you what it is. We've packed in so many little pieces of action.
Well, just to tell you, me and Chris are ready.
Don't you worry, I've got some beauties for you next week. You better start revising now. Right, Al Salia, they're up against. Al Salia picked up just that point in that draw against Al Khor. Again, it was a penalty for them. It was Abdul Gadir being pulled down there. It went to VAR. It was then given. So as far as Al Salia getting into their stride, getting equal or better than third last season, we're still yet to see what they've got.
Well, you've tipped him to go to the top two.
No, I've got to put Al Arabi in
I'm
second
sure you
now.
did, Rob. I'm sure you did. This time last
Okay.
week, I'm sure
I think
you
I might have
said
changed my mind. No.
I've got a concern about Al Salia without Tibi Kaneen. Abdul Gadir, will he recover from that injury? Hopefully he does, but very similar to Al Ahly. Have they got the firepower?
I know both of you feel a little bit worried that Tibi Kaneen now is not at the club. But one who's not as worried is their head coach, Sami Trabelsi.
For us, I think the problem last game, we need more time because there is 6 or 7 players new in the last game, and some players in the cup they come maybe late, and we don't work a lot together. I think game by game we will be better. I'm not afraid about Celia. I think that we have a good team this season, and in the quality it's more better than last season.
Well, he thinks it's better.
Sammy knows this show. He knows us so well. He shouldn't be saying game by game.
No, but the big thing he's saying there, he seems very comfortable that what he's got is better than last season.
Yeah, but all right, okay, this is what we'll say now then, which is, to me and Chris, is pretty much common sense. You look at De Gea without Al Arabi. You look at Celia there, obviously, without Tibi Kaneen. You tell us at the end of the season, so Abdul Qadir, who scored 13 goals last season, he has to be up over the 20s. Add it up, because you...
Or the new signing, Kareem, who scored a penalty, he's got to get...
Yeah, but they have to be anywhere near, you know, add it all up. All your top teams there will have firepower. So without that there is where the goal's going to come from.
Where are they going to come from? Are they going to come this weekend? Nick, Al Ahly versus Al Salia.
Cool, this is, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a cracker, this one. But anyway, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Celia.
2-1 to Celia. Chris Makin.
Have you put a 2-1 in yet?
I think I did last one. 1-1.
1-1, you're going for the draw. We'll finish up with Al Shahania versus Al Sadd. Before I even go to Nick and Chris to get some reaction here, you know, some would think Al Shahania, you're going to play against Al Sadd. It's impossible. Well, Nigel de Jong, who's the new signing there, does not think so.
You know, obvious, Al Sadd is one of the best teams in Qatar. We all know that, but we don't shy away from a mission. And this is one of those games that you can really show yourself. I mean, it's not going to be easy. We all know that. I did it last year with Al Ahly, so there is a possibility to beat them as well. But only when you're really focused and compact as a team, you can get something against Al Sadd. But nothing is impossible in my books. I mean, I've been in football too many years to see a lot of impossible stuff that happens. So that also is for this game, this upcoming game.
It's lovely, and you know, he has been around, he's seen it, and I love the bit that he reminds us of the 4-1 they beat Al Sadd, do you remember? With Al Ahly at the beginning, early 4-1. We're all thinking Al Sadd are going to go through this season unbeaten. Up they come against Al Ahly, thank you very much.
I like it. I like the interview because we have been in some strange games ourselves, haven't we? Where we weren't expected to go into this game and win, and we did it somehow. And you can't explain it, but this one is impossible.
Yeah. What do you think, Nick? What you want to pick up on? I know, and we talked about it in the review show. Feridun, he's a striker for them. You want better from him?
He's got to think about himself. He's had a lot of clubs now. It's about if he's going to be the centre forward for the team, he's got to get in these dangerous areas. Too slow for me. No, you've got to get in the box. That's where you're going to score goals. And it's just too slow. As it's working on the right wing, we looked at the Wakra goal. Gauge it. So you make sure if he's looking up, you're in the box there. So he just needs to do a little bit more. It's not really having a go at him because the team, it was difficult in the first game of the season. But if he's going to be a centre forward, he's got to at least give himself a little bit of a chance and be in the areas where he can take his chances and be there and be available.
Right, they're up against Al Sadd, of course. Al Sadd, fantastic team. They've already got a trophy. But let's remember they've played a lot of games. We're not going to show you now the goals that Al Sadd scored against Al Wakra in week 1 because since then they've been in action again in the AFC Champions League. Watching them, let's just have a look at it. It was a great start, a good away goal. That's always essential in these competitions. But in the end, they came up against a very, very good, a very tough side, Nick.
It was a good game of football. Had a little bit of luck here now, but well done for Sadd. He's looking like he's going to have a good season, by the way. He's like an unsung hero. People don't give him a lot of praise, but a nice little bit of luck there, and all of a sudden they get the goal. But they were under pressure a lot during the game. And I tell you what, do you know where they seemed to give a lot of they were at fault themselves by trying to play out from the back, like really trying to play out from the back, like very deep. This is what Xavi's brought into it now, and they seem to be giving the ball away in certain situations. We saw with Wakra put pressure on them, and they still found it a little bit difficult. So this is something which they've got to overcome.
I think people are enjoying that now.
Yeah.
When people want to play out from the back, people have realised now, let's push on and cause problems, win the ball out the pitch now. And people are still trying to play out from the back, aren't they, causing their own problems.
But the only thing what you've got to realise, which is Chris is dead right there, when Guardiola goes to Manchester City, he has certain players which are brought in for that role.
Specifically
for that role. The goalkeeper, your Fernandinho in midfield there, i.e. stroke Xavi, players that are used to having it in certain situations. So it's nothing you can just turn on and expect a team to do. Players have got to be comfortable doing it, and that's why I think there's loads of joy. If you really push on, I don't think they've got a plan B. I don't think they know really how to do it. It's not an easy thing to do.
Okay then, let's go to the predictions. Al Shahaniya versus... I'll start with you, Chris. Al Shahaniya versus Al Sadd.
I'll go with a easy 3-0, Al Sadd.
Okay, and Nick?
I'll go with a 3-1.
3-1, okay. Let's now remind you of the standings going into this next week and how they line up. So the standings going into week 2 look like this. There were 4 victories in week 1, and therefore 4 teams share 3 points at the top of the table. Al Sadd, Al Gharafa, Al Arabi and Al Duhail. Full marks for them. There were 2 draws as well in the first week. One of them was between Al Rayyan and Salal. They share a point each in 5th and 6th. Down in the bottom half of the table, the other draw was between Al Khor and Al Salia. They each share a point each, and 4 teams losing: Qatar Sports Club, Al Ahli, Al Wakra and Al Shahaniya. The fixtures in week 2 are spread over 3 days and will be played at the Al Janoub Stadium in Al Wakra and the Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Stadium, Al Sadd Stadium, because both stadiums are air-cooled, which allows the games to be played in the August heat here in Qatar. On Thursday, the 29th of August, the early kick-off at 17:10 Doha time is Al Wakra versus Qatar Sports Club. At 19:20, Al Duhail face Al Arabi. Then on Friday, the 30th of August, Al Khorum Salal is the early kick-off. At 19:20, Al Rayyan come up against Al Gharafa. And then on Saturday, the 31st of August, at 17:10, it's Al Ahli versus Al Salia. And at 19:20, Al Shahaniya face the might of Al Sadd. We're all set for week 2. So from Nick Summerby, Chris Macon and myself, bye for now.